Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have Denise joining us. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, guys.
Oh, it feels so long since we've done this, eh?
So awesome. It's so good to be together again.
I know. And of course, you know what? We're bringing our usual content, mental diet, and everyone is you pushed out. So we are going to actually go through, I've got a success story to share about how I've actually changed someone around completely and how I did it. And then we're going to go into and talk about how you can change, anybody that you're having a conflict with, or that you want to, say you've had a fight or you're not talking or it's just not a good relationship. So we're going to give some tips on how to change that. Just before we do, we are running a contest. Once we get to 100,000 subscribers, we're giving away 3 free coaching sessions with the coach of your choice. So all you need to do to enter is to subscribe, share the videos, and comment what you've actually manifested using the law of attraction. Let's share some hope and inspiration with each other. So awesome. So welcome, Denise. So guys, you know what? I was just talking with Denise earlier before I started the video, and we were talking about a situation that I turned around. So I had somebody in my life that I hadn't talked to for 5 years, and we actually were fighting a lot. We did not get along. Okay. And basically, I remember somebody actually saying to me, like, so-and-so is actually really mean to you. And I was like, yeah, they are. And I, of course, being a people pleaser, and I assumed, because I created it, that, okay, I have to put up with this. And I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me of how I created this person to treat me this way. But where I really had the breakthrough was I went and I was like, yeah, everyone's you pushed out. So I'm going to intend that they take responsibility for everything that they did and apologize for it and change the way that they treat me. So instead of assuming that I created it and there's something wrong inside of me for this person to treat me meanly, so what was wrong with my self-concept? I said, no, there's nothing wrong with my self-concept. The problem is I've created this person to be mean to me. And I need to create them to take responsibility for themselves. So easily I could say, okay, I've created it, so I'm responsible for it, and then try to fix me. But really, everyone's you pushed out. So yeah, you created it, but you can also create that they take responsibility for what they do and say, and they apologize, and that they treat you better. Because really, you say so-and-so treats me mean, they're going to treat you mean. You say so-and-so is nice to me, they're going to be nice to you, right?
Yep. I do this with a lot of my clients lately too, where specific person relations, and it's mostly women. But so this is why I'm prefacing this for a reason. But I tell them, rather than trying to deliberately intend or affirm for them to do these little specific actions, like you feel like you have to micromanage for them to treat you right, just start saying, like, I'm manifesting a grown man that will do whatever it takes to be with me, or I'm manifesting a grown man that takes care of his business and rearranges his life for me. And it's like a way of taking it back to, like, you are worthy of having everything that you want, and it's not about you. And if we keep looking at, like you said, like self-concept or what's wrong or why did I create that, like, it's good to look at it enough just to let you know that the thing you're getting isn't what you want, and then use it for what it's intended, which is to drive yourself toward the focus of what you do want, rather than compounding the issue with what's wrong with me, why did I create this,
Yeah.
better. Yeah. And like, then you start to feel guilty or you start to feel bad, and it just boom, 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 it's piling it on. So yeah, I love that. Like, they take accountability. They apologize for the past. They take responsibility for their actions. They change the way they treat me. They do whatever to be with me or to make me feel happy. They satisfy my needs, stuff like
Exactly. So like, but just to go, okay, so self-concept is very important. Okay. So if you do have insecurities and you do have anxiety about yourself, or if you do think that you need to lose 5 pounds of weight to be in a relationship or to have someone like you, then yes, you do need to do self-concept. And especially if you're depressed as well. Yes, that's very important. But never forget that the story about the other person also needs to be changed, because the only thing, for instance, like if I wake up and I say nothing works out for me, I'm going to have a day where nothing works out for me. It's going to show up across the board. So then I would change that with everything always works out for me, rather than changing each individual incident. Okay. So that's one way to do it. But if you find that there's only one person treating you terribly, and you find that your intentions are coming from every other guy, they're saying they want to marry you, they say you're beautiful, and all the intentions that you're making for your SP are coming from all these other people, there's nothing wrong with your self-concept then, because you are able to attract that to yourself, but it's not coming from the one person, because you need to change the story with them. Okay, so that's a big indication. But if you're saying it and it's not coming from anybody, then yes, you may want to look at your self-concept. But then of course, if you're wondering where your block is, Denise can definitely help you find it. So definitely check out the link for coaching. I'm sorry, I needed to say it.
I will be happy to do that. Totally.
Right? Totally needed to say that, because our reality is going to show us our blocks, right? As well as our thoughts, right?
Yeah. Bring that it's just feedback. And you guys, whatever you're seeing out there, whatever is coming back, don't make it a big deal. It doesn't mean that much. It just means that this is the trajectory that your thoughts are on. It's really an opportunity. Everything that manifests and that shows up for us, it's an opportunity for us to look at it and again, take our attention off of it and toward what we want.
Exactly. And then, it's mental diet. Your thoughts create everything in your reality. And I know it's so easy to get off a mental diet and just go on to whatever. So, if you are actually at a point where you are having a hard time figuring out what you're thinking, listen to your thoughts, because your thoughts will create your feelings. So listen to your feelings. What are you feeling? If you start to feel upset, ask yourself, what am I thinking? Because when you start to get those feelings, those thoughts are on autopilot. So it's like, for instance, going into the dentist and waiting in the waiting room and all of a sudden hearing the drill, instantly get butterflies, right? It's not because you had a conscious thought at that moment. It's because subconsciously you've got this track going, which is drill means pain, means don't like it, don't want to do it, get nervous, right? So, we've got to interrupt those patterns, right? So when you start to feel something other than happy, you've got to start focusing on what you want, telling yourself, I'm the creator of my reality. My thoughts create everyone is me pushed out. This isn't, and not to say that things aren't a big deal, right? So if you do create something with somebody, a conflict, and they treat you in a way that you don't like, okay, yes, you created it. Okay. So now you create that they're going to take responsibility and they're going to stop doing it, or et cetera, because you're the creator of your reality. You can create anything. You can create an apology. Sometimes creating the apology is more focusing on the problem rather than, the resolution. But if that's something you want, well, then you can have that. That's something you're allowed to have. In fact, you're allowed to focus on the problem and not create anything either. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. You're so powerful that there really is no rule or one way to do it, or
exactly.
Yeah, it's quite literally whatever you decide is what it becomes and what happens. And I tell people too, with apologies, especially, that like more often than not, when we want an apology from somebody, it's because we've already forgiven them. We just want to hear them say it because it's going to help. So I always tell them, because they'll ask me, is it okay to want an apology or to intend for one? I'm like, yeah, of course. Are you going to forgive them when you hear it? Have you already forgiven them now? And they're always like, yes, of course I have. I just want to hear it. So I'm like, yeah, to hear that and being able to come from that place of compassion with it, whereas you're not, you might be upset still, you might have these feelings, you might be a little bit hurt, but you still have already forgiven them. Like mostly the bigger part of you has already forgiven them. And so I think that's the best way to get the apology also, is when you're already in alignment with accepting it. And
well, that's the only way. Once you're in that forgiving mode, then they're going to automatically forgive you. You've got to shift into it first. Not saying you have to go apologize to them first, but you have to see them as being sorry, and you've got to drop the anger and come to an apologetic place within inside yourself. Because if you come at it with anger, you're just going to create more things that are going to make you angry. Right. And the minute you give up that anger or resentment or whatever you're feeling, or frustration or disappointment, and you shift into being sorry, then they'll shift into being sorry.
Yeah. Everything just releases. Like you feel it physically within your body. You feel the release of acceptance, and then you get the text message or the knock on the door or the phone call or the letter in the mail.
Right? Have you ever had that? Okay. Where you're like creating for like a couple of days, doing all these intentions, but like you're in this uptight mood, but then all of a sudden you just have this moment where you're like, okay, no, I'm the creator of my reality. You relax, and then boom, all your intentions come in at once, and you're like, boom, 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 and you're like, okay, finally, right? Because you've just finally just given up that resistance of worrying about it, and like you just say, no, I'm a creator, and you feel it in every cell in your body, because all of a sudden something reminds you, like, I create that. I always see my intentions manifest, and I always see how everyone is me pushed out. And constantly I'll be thinking something and somebody will say it and I'll notice it and I'll be like, oh my God, Amanda, like seriously, you're such an idiot sometimes.
See, there it is again.
Right. Like, how could I forget? Like, honestly, how, but I think really, right, to not react and to keep on your mental diet, I think it's really about priming yourself in the morning. Like, I'm ready to do this. Everyone is me pushed out. I'm a creator. Today is going to be a good day. Everything's going to go my way, right? I'm going to get all my intentions to come true today. Like, and the other thing I do is I think about other times that I've created something similar to what I'm creating. Also gets me back into that state, right?
Definitely. And also it's the awareness throughout the day. You guys, it's so important. Like, I found myself slipping. I wasn't doing that. Also, I wasn't priming myself. I wasn't setting my foundation with my morning affirmations. I was like hitting the alarm, 5-year-old coming in, dog, like all these things were happening. And I was just going about life and not checking my head, not checking my mental diet. And then I basically manifested myself into an anxiety attack. Like, I started to freak that weren't happening and were somewhat irrational. And it took, persistence and reminding, like, to get back on the mental diet. I also did go to the doctor just because I felt like that was a path of least resistance for me. I was like, well, I'm manifesting the people that can tell me that I'm okay. And that this is all a result of my thinking. And that's exactly what happened. I felt better. I had the relief. And after that, the days got better and better and better. But I realized, looking back on it, that it really was a matter of just slipping on the mental diet and just getting caught up with life and what's happening and what, like, the 3D, not actually being in my 4D version of what's happening and how things are going to go down. And I kind of gave up my power, I guess, for a few days.
Well, exactly, and we do that sometimes, and that's what anxiety is. It's worrying about the future. It's worrying about how things are going to work out. It was funny. I was talking with someone yesterday, and they were talking about somebody and how they figured the person was going to act. And it hadn't even happened yet. And they were already getting mad about what this person was going to do. And the person hasn't even done it yet. And I was like, do you realize you're getting upset over something that hasn't happened yet? Like, it hasn't. And then we have this opportunity right now. We can sit here and work ourselves up over something that hasn't happened yet, that we assume is going to happen. And we're just creating anger within ourselves and creating it to actually happen. Or we can take a step back and just really get on top of our thoughts and think, no, this is how we actually want it to be. Right. So, like, I mean, I know you guys all do it. I'm guilty of it. I'm like, if something happens and I'm like, oh, it's going to be no good now. Like, I'm already upset. I'm already creating it to be no good. You know what I mean? It's like, for instance, like, going to, like, we wanted to go, it's a holiday in Canada yesterday. So I wanted to go get some chicken wings, and maybe a beverage. I'm like, it's going to be busy. And I was already upset that it was going to be busy. And sure enough, the parking lot wasn't even that, it was totally packed, so packed. There was a lineup to get out of the parking lot. Like, once we were in, we had to wait through a lineup to get out. Like, it was that packed, right? Like sardines, right? Like, we couldn't even just go in and out, right? We'd go in and now we're waiting to get out, right? Like, I mean, we might as well have went in for the wings and waited in that lineup, but there was no parking.
Yeah.
So I already created it being angry. And then sure enough, when I got there, it happens. Of course I was even angrier, right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is going to take forever. It's going to take up my whole lunch. It's going to be a head. It turned into 3 phone calls, and it was like collectively an hour and a half that I was on these 3 calls. And the amount of elevator music that I listened to was unbelievable. But, and I was like, Denise, you literally created that by anticipating that that's what it's going to be.
Oh, exactly. So now I create everything. It's going to be easily and effortlessly. And I think a big part of the mental diet too is before you go and do anything, do it intentionally and do it consciously. So what do I mean by that? That means, like, okay, look, you know what? I am going to make this call and it's going to go so smoothly and easily. In fact, they're totally going to, like, solve it. And, in fact, they're even going to solve it before I even phone. You know what I mean? Like, so there was a problem with PayPal, okay, just this last weekend. And it was like, I couldn't actually finish, like, whatever I needed to do in PayPal, which left my weekly totals and stuff, like, undone. So and it was a glitch with PayPal. Like, it wouldn't let me do anything in there. And it was in French at that. And I'm like, okay. So I checked, like, the settings and it said English. So I'm like, here's my thought. I'm going to email PayPal and they're not going to help me. It's going to be useless. Okay. So guess what I got? I basically got like step-by-step on how to do the things that I already knew how to do, but weren't working. And I even sent screenshots going, look, and this is half in French, half in English. Like, how is this? And they were like, oh, how do you change the language? I can tell you. And they basically just copied and pasted all the help. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't help. But I intended that it would be fixed by Monday, which was yesterday. So then I was sitting there, okay, and I was like, no, this is going to work. So then I just happened to go in and read their message, and I was like, okay, whatever. And so then I said, I'm going to check the language again. And so I went to check the language, and I said, you know what, I'm going to change it from English to French back to English. And I'm like, I intend that this works. It'll fix it. So, because it has for like other computer software things in the past. So I went in, and when I clicked edit, it said it was English, but when I clicked edit, it said it was French. And I was like, well, that's weird. So then it gave me an option to change it to English. I changed it to English. I hit update, and everything worked perfectly. So my intention of it getting fixed, even though I was intending PayPal to fix it, I had the story that they were going to be useless and they weren't going to help me and they were just going to anger me. Of course they did, right? Obviously they had to, because that was my intention. But then my intention was that it needed to be fixed. So I got the inspiration or the thought to go and just toggle with the language setting button. By the way, if anyone's having a problem with their PayPal, try it. It worked for me. and it totally worked. And I was like, well, and it was working by Monday, just like I had intended, right? So sometimes when we block other areas, see, if I would have the story that PayPal is awesome, like their customer service, which I do now, they're great, they're awesome, they're great, they always fix stuff for me, right? But things will come through that way, you know what I mean? As long as if I would have Monday morning woke up and been like, okay, that's it, they're not helping me, it's not getting fixed today, I wouldn't have had that moment to check that, right? So our thoughts and our intentions will come through many different ways. And we always want to reaffirm that it's because it's happening and it's going to happen. It's happening now, right?
Yeah. And I really like what you said too about like a good mental diet is being conscious, like consciously thinking, like taking the time. That's slowing down. I realize that's a big thing that I don't slow down. And I'm not slowing down. I don't have the time to be deliberate with my intentions. I'm making the time for the big things that are really prevalent in my life and that I'm really aware of. I have an unhealthy mental diet about, but the little things, phone calls or just traffic, like
exactly,
or anything like that, illnesses, like things that aren't always at the forefront of my mind. So yeah, slowing down, like that's a really healthy mental diet, is to have that conscious awareness of what am I thinking and is it getting me closer to what I want? Even if it's a big relationship or the money or the job that you want, just a peaceful day, a day that, you know, things flow harmoniously and everyone's on my side and supporting me.
Well, and you know, and the one thing about that, right, is all these little interactions during the day will add up to the bigger picture, right? So like, for instance, you know, I said, okay, I'm going to fix the PayPal's going to work today. And I said, I'm going to have a good day. Everything's going to work out for me. And then all of a sudden, you know, that PayPal resolved itself. And then that I can take it as, okay, you know what, now I can apply, you know, that feeling and that state of mind to something else I'm working on, right? You know, so I think that's also really, really important as well, you know, and when you're intending to have a good day and your SP calls and you're on top of the world and maybe they say something you don't like that you've created, it's easier not to react to it because you've got so many other things going for you and you're not just focusing on one thing, right? So it's about taking a look at your entire life, right? And saying, okay, you know what, life is good. And we've got to be happy with what we have now, whether we have it or not, because what you have now, you've manifested yesterday for today. So you've got to appreciate it, whether you did it consciously or by accident, then you don't like it. You still got to appreciate it and be thankful for it because it was a gift from yourself, from, you know, who you were yesterday, right?
Yeah. And it'll help that awareness to your mental diet. Just like now you have an intention that PayPal is super supportive and they'll do everything.
Because it was very painful when they weren't and I had to do it myself. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. How can I change this?
Yep. So sometimes these things that we don't want that show up are really helpful and they help us if we can take it for its intended purpose. It's there to show you this is something you don't want. This is something you don't like. So now you know how to create the opposite and just let it.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong too with me saying, leaving my story with the PayPal as the bad story and then just intending everything always works and then me fixing it myself. Like that's fine, but I don't want that. I'd rather, you know, be good at it. Right. So then I'm going to shift my story. Right. But it's as easy as that, but there's no right or wrong. You know, you can create what you want, how you want in your reality, and you can do it any way you want. And, you know, if you think it's going to work, it's going to work. If you don't think it's going to work, it ain't going to work. Right.
Yeah.
Well, This was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Denise, for being here. Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Fun time.
Right. And guys, of course, if you're looking for coaching, check out the link in the description below. And Denise has a course out too. She's got a couple courses out.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do this I Am course, which is a course for creating confidence within yourself, basically manifesting the version of you that believes you're worthy of having all the things that you want. And it's a really cool course. It's like a holistic approach. So it's not just about what to think, but it also tells you what to do. And it has like actual things that you need to start doing in your 3D reality. Since we are manifesting a 3D reality, it really helps if you balance the thoughts with the actions, and then they kind of support each other and aid one another, and then you become wholly this person that you want to become, to have all the things you want. So it's a really cool course. And then I also have my now I can't remember what it's called, Living in the End course. I still have mental diet running through my head. Mental diet, mental diet, mental diet.
Living in the End course. That's a really good one too. Yes.
One too. So check them out.
Yes, definitely, guys. Check them out. Links are in the description. And if you like to ask me, Amanda, a question, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description below. So definitely. So thank you so much, Denise. This was amazing.
Thank you. It was so much fun. Just like the old times chatting.
I know. We were late to the party. I did everyone else's video a month ago. We're late to the party, but that's okay. You know what? All good. And guys, you know what? Thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And yes, you know what? I intend that everybody that watches this video finds something that's blocking them and have a huge breakthrough and shift something in the area that they're manifesting. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.